Question A1. What does citizenship, advocacy and inclusion means? Citizenship refers to the status of a person recognized under a law of a country. Inclusion means that all people, despite their abilities, disabilities or healthcare needs, have the right to. Lastly, advocacy refers to any sort of action or activity representing another person's interest, like how a lawyer does.
Hi, my name is Nur Fatin Nik Hassan, matric number 67136. I am going to explain my understanding for three terms, which is the first one is citizenship, the second one is inclusion, and the third one is advocacy. Citizenship. Citizenship is a status of an individual that belongs to a particular country. Inclusion. Inclusion is being included. Advocacy. Advocacy is an activity influences specific decisions such as support or protest of a certain situation.
Hi everyone, my name is Izzati Suffiah binti Muhammad Amin Faudzi. So my definition for citizenship is a status for a person to stay or live in a particular country. The second one is inclusion, which is an action of being included in a group of society. And the third one is advocacy, which is an approval for a particular causes or policies.
Citizenship. Citizenship is a status that's granted to a particular individual as a recognition of being a citizen in the particular country. Advocacy. Advocacy is an act to support a certain activity or proclamation. Inclusion. Inclusion is an act that is made to include a particular individual in a specific group or society.
Citizenship is the given right to a person by government as a form of national identity, which lets the people know they belong to the country and is part of that country's community and society. Inclusion is the state of having people included in the group, regardless of their statuses or any differences that would otherwise categorize them as a different group. Advocacy means fighting for or defending rights that one believes in, or to help those who require their cause to be heard for the greater good.
Part A2 is divided into 5 questions. The first question, what is the aim of the paper? This paper aims to relate citizenship education to inclusion. Who wrote the paper and which year it was written? It's by David L. Grossman in 2008. Third question, what did the author discuss regarding sustainable society? The author discussed that to ensure everything democratic is inclusive for all citizens, and society struggle to recognize and integrate various groups in politics and also participate and voice out in terms of politics.
For part A2, question number 4, the question is, what did the author discuss regarding social inclusion? The author showed a significant relationship between democracy and social inclusion, and it has become a hot debate in both political and educational policy. This is due to the concept of social inclusion that has become increasingly important due to the result of changing labor market dynamics and increased diversity needs. And he also suggested that there is a little understanding about social inclusion, and he agreed that the key barrier to understanding the solution is because of the diversity of race, ethnicity, religion, language, gender, and ability under different legal, bureaucratic, and educational rubrics. There are 2 models that is introduced by the author. The first one is the traditional model, and the second one is the critical model. The traditional model, which is Aristotle's image of Athenian democracy, showed a shared relationship between democracy practice, democratic right, and social inclusion. However, the contemporary theorists think that the model is not enough as a foundation for social inclusion, and they prefer a critical model that allows an alternate modes for political engagement and the inclusion of previous group for a more justice-oriented individual. This is because previously the subgroups such as women, the poor, ethnic, racial, and cluster racial have been excluded from participation in social inclusion. Next, the author also discussed that there is a strong conceptual and moral link between inclusion and democratic citizenship education because they share a main worrisome of socio-political context and school communities. He says that those two have the importance for both exclusion and inclusion because socio-political background emphasize stability and the privilege of belonging and agreement, while the school cultures emphasize creativity, the importance of new members, voices, debate, and transformation. And the author also highlight that every citizen should have the same opportunities towards education without any discrimination regarding their ethnicity, race, gender, or religion. And he also included intellectual, physical ability, and social orientation in the list because these disabilities are often excluded from the discussion on diversity. For instance, the barriers such as ethnicity, race, gender, and religion have been improved to be accepted through UNESCO's Education for All, but very little voice from national, regional, and local levels to address disability or students with special needs. The final question for part A2, the question number 5, which is, what is the United Nations definition of socially inclusive society? United Nations said that the aim of social integration is to create a society for all, in which every individual, each with rights and responsibilities, has an active role to play. Such an inclusive society must be based on respect for all human rights and fundamental freedoms, cultural and religious diversity, social justice, and the special needs of vulnerable and disadvantaged groups, democratic participation, and the rule of law.
Basically, this paper by UNICEF provides a general idea on how inclusive education can be implemented across countries of the world, though it may not be that specific that suits different contexts, but it is still a comprehensive guideline for those who want to implement IE. The entire article can be segmented into 3 parts. To put things simple, let's call it what, why, and how. Okay, the what part. For introductory purposes, we must know what UNICEF thinks of IE. In the article, from their perspective, IE means education that includes everyone, including those with disabilities, because everyone is equal when it comes to receiving education. Now, since we have briefly known what IE is, but why? Why is it so important? Why must it be done? In the article, it provides us some notions as to why it is necessary to be implemented. In short, there are various benefits that the world can get from IE in terms of 3 aspects, which are educational, economic, and social. For example, from a social standpoint, the advocacy of IE creates a society with no social disparity, which will result in a more inclusive society. And lastly, the how part. The article also gives us some useful ideas on how IE can be implemented. The ideas are revolve around 5 main pillars, which are system, support, cultural change, partnerships, and monitoring. It is believed that any change needs to take place from such standpoints. Moreover, the paper ends with a further elaboration of requirements to achieve a working inclusive education system, which requires the collaboration between each individual as well as society as a whole.
And now we turn to Hawk's paper. Instead of advocating for IE, he talks more about the difficulties when it comes to implementations of an IE system. The article makes a clear distinction between ideals and realities. Hawk pointed out the failure to come to terms on a standard definition of inclusion has hampered the progress of IE. Some may say IE is a single factor, and some say it's a product of multiple factors. Moreover, when we talk about IE, the first thing that comes to our mind will be the placement of the students, as in how students with disabilities can be included in the normal classroom. However, if it's handled as a result of many other criteria, obviously, the only issue here is not about the placement anymore. Then, the article explains that there are 2 distinct definitions of inclusion as well as their differences. The first one is the narrow definition of IE. It mostly targets students with disabilities only, and how they can be included in the normal classroom. On the contrary, the broadened version covers all students and marginalized groups. It focuses on including everyone in the same educational system despite their differences. Then, the importance of coherence during the implementations of an IE system is discussed as well. The article stresses on the importance of the interconnection between different parts of an educational system. Failure to do so causes contradiction, which in turn leads to the opposite effects of IE. As mentioned earlier, no matter how IE is idealized by the world organizations, some countries are still facing difficulties when implementing it, due to the existence of dichotomy in their educational system, which emphasizes on splitting among the standard and special needs education. Now let's talk about the challenges stated by Hogg. He says that no country has ever succeeded in creating an educational system that fully captures the essence of inclusion. It's mostly because the disagreements on operational specifications of inclusive education. Well, teacher competence in handling students with special needs have been appalling too. There's a need for the teachers in charge to balance out the teaching as well as the catering to the special needs children. Lastly, every school should propose their own methodologies of implementations from their own perspective. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nur Fatin. For part C, we are going to go through a different definition of learning disabilities from 5 different countries, namely Malaysia, United Kingdom, United States of America, Norway, and Australia. Starting with Malaysia, that I took from Malaysian Information Network on Disabilities. Learning disabilities is a term used when a person has certain limitations in a mental functioning and in skills such as communicating, taking care of themselves, and social skills. Next, we move to United Kingdom, which I took from Mencap UK. Learning disabilities is reduced intellectual ability and difficulty with everyday activities. For instance, household tasks, socializing, or managing money, which it actually affects someone for their whole life. The third one is taken from Learning Disabilities Association of America. Learning disabilities is defined as a genetic and or neurobiological factors that alter brain functioning in a manner which affect one or more cognitive processes which related to learning. For Norway, they only share what disability is defined, and I think it also applied to learning disabilities. Disability occurs due to an uneven relationship between the individual's abilities and the construction of the physical environment or its requirement for ability. In other words, disability occurs at the intersection between the individual and physical surroundings, which are not properly adjusted to different abilities. For Australia, learning disabilities defined as a lifelong problems that affect someone's ability to learn in one or more specific academic areas.
I'm Carmen Soo, matrix number 65591. I'll be presenting the D part. Why is inclusion important for individuals with learning disability and the society? The answer is very simple. It's because being socially included means a lot, especially to those with learning disabilities. Although there might be some differences in terms of learning abilities between people with learning disabilities and people without learning disabilities, we believe that individuals with learning disabilities deserve to have the same right as those who don't. In fact, study found out that people are more likely to suffer from poor physical and mental health, depression, isolation, and low self-esteem. It is so because they may lack of a sense of identity in their community, and also they may be unable to participate in the events that they truly enjoy. In general, individuals with learning disability lack opportunities to work, play, learn, and develop social relationships with others. Being in a social included society is important because everyone experiences the sense of belonging, are accepted for who they are within their communities, have valued roles in the community, are actively participating in the community, and have social relationship with others. Some instances of inclusions are teacher and other pupils learning sign language to communicate with deaf and mute students, and teachers allowing students with dyslexia to listen to audiobooks instead of reading the text so that they can follow along and study the book with the class. In summary, inclusion is very crucial for individuals with learning disability as well as the society. Next, for the second part of question D, what do learning disability refers to and what is an inclusive society? Learning disabilities refer to neurological disorder that alters brain functioning in a manner in which it affects one or more cognitive processes related to learning. These processing problems may obstruct one or more cognitive functions and basic skills related to learning. And those are reading, writing, and also the ability to solve maths questions. Meanwhile, an inclusive society is a society whereby people enjoy living together regardless of each other's caste, faith, ethnicity, gender, class, geographical location, and other disabilities. A socially inclusive society promotes equal opportunity for all people to live their lives with dignity and trust. Thank you.
I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for my friends. I'm thankful for the